Welcome to Eurovision Kiki. We're three Americans who have fallen in love with Eurovision. I'm Doug.
I'm Steven.
I'm Katie, and here on Eurovision Kiki, we're bringing you the best information about the Eurovision Song Contest.
We'll bring you the music, history, traditions,
and all the tea currently surrounding the world of Eurovision. I just heard the dog squeaking, that's fine.
Yeah, sorry.
I was like, what is that noise? What is happening?
It's just Glader with his squeaking. I know.
Look at him. He's going to come up and apologize to me.
It's okay, Glader.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
So we get into semifinal 2.
Welcome back, yes. Welcome back. Yeah. Semifinals 2 time. We had to refresh some drinks. We're ready to get back into it. And so we've got a group of 16 who are ready to perform.
I mean, similar to semifinal 1, you have your opener and you've got to come in hard. And for this one, we had Malta with their song Loop, which
and she didn't get an opening to her opening, you know? Like she didn't have the benefit of Welcome to Eurovision 2024. They said, "Hey, this show has started, you're up." So It was all her. And
yeah, Petra and Malin kind of had their little skit where they were doing their tattoo parody. But as soon as that was over, they were in the tanning beds. As soon as that was over, they were on stage, welcoming everybody back, letting them know we're just jumping right into it. We've got 16 countries competing, plus 3 additional interval acts from the Big Five: Spain, Italy, France. So we've got 19 songs in total tonight. We don't got time for an interval act. We're going.
Which, first of all, is kind of the same thing that we're doing with this podcast episode. And I thought, the Miss Universe will never die. And
will never not be funny.
Because when they were announcing which Big Five countries were performing that night, they did it Miss Universe style and really had someone
the crowd was there for it too. When that happened the night that we were there, we were all about it.
And for Just France, when it was their turn to perform, his turn to perform, they showed that clip again of the faux Miss Universe. It's such I love the nod to meme culture that this Eurovision had. Even if it was just this moment, I loved it. It was so funny.
Oh, they did it perfectly. There was they did not fuck that up at all.
I thought it was great. But yeah, we do have to talk about Malta opening the show. We've mentioned it before. Voting blocks are a thing. Malta has had a history of struggling with getting votes because they just don't have a lot of people that they are in they don't have the voting block. I don't think they're really part of one with anybody. And so it's always tough for them.
No, not at all. And I will be as frank and honest about this one as I humanly can. She got fucked over hardcore.
Yeah. But also, yes.
And I went there. The song was a bop. The song's a bop.
And the performance was amazing. That dance break when they're flipping her over and it was entertainment. It was it was amazing.
It was giving. It was giving.
It was giving. It was serving. She was serving. She ate. She slayed. The house boots down.
She all of that. I think what screwed her over, besides the fact that she doesn't have anybody really in her corner to throw votes her way, as you go through your sort of rewind of all of the countries that are performing, she picked her dance segment as sort of her 10-minute or 10-second clip to remind audience members of her performance. And I'm like, no, girl, that's not the it was great in the performance, but that's not what you should have picked.
Do the countries pick those for themselves? Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
They do. Very similarly, when you're sort of leading up to the Eurovision Song Contest and they're in actual rehearsal and they're providing social media clips, the artists go and pick sort of what they want to show or have posted. And so for her to pick that for the 10-second clip, I'm just, face plant, face palm, like, no.
That was not the best part of her performance.
No.
It was a great part. Yes, it was a great part. It was not the best part, and not something that you have to sing live kind of like, and that's like a big piece of it. Having no singing is a choice.
Yeah. And that's when I look at the two opening acts from semifinal 1 and semifinal 2, to me, Malta was stronger than Cyprus, but she just did not have the support from the other country delegates to back her up in that sense. So it was sad. Pouring one out for Sarah.
Now, I love me some Sarah Bonnici, and I love what she has come out with since Eurovision. I do question the bodysuit. That's just me personally. I don't know.
Are you kidding? Are you serious?
Wasn't for me, I guess. But I love everything else about this act. I love everything else about it.
Interesting. I loved it
too. I thought it fit her beautifully. And I thought that for the song and for the performance, it was top notch.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's talk a little bit about these bottom acts and kind of who didn't make it that maybe shocked you. So this semifinal, because they had the extra person, that meant 6 acts weren't going to make it through. So in that regard, you could say that this is the harder semifinal because there's just one extra person not making it. Now,
yes and no.
But I would also say that there were some heavy hitters in this one, but I would say overall, if I had to pick, like, even just looking at the scores, like the 6, you are out of the triple digits by the time you're in 5th place. There were like 4 really, really strong songs with Israel, Netherlands, Armenia, Switzerland. We can talk about those. We'll talk about them in the final. And then it kind of drops off in a way. And so it was like, I think on average, it was less strong songs. So while there were more, it was a little different for me.
I couldn't agree with you more, Katie. I feel as though semifinal 2 opened the door for a lot of songs that would have otherwise gotten lost or just completely washed out in semifinal 1. Sure. And so I feel as though there was more opportunity to be had here than what was at semifinal 1. I think if I were to, there are 2 countries on it, or 2 performers, I should say, that I feel lost an opportunity to get into that top 10. First, for me, obvious one, San Marino. I actually thought San Marino had a chance of getting into the getting into the grand finals this year, and that just did not work. When I look back at what their semifinal performance was, there were technical issues that were being had with her audio that she could not recover from. And I think, again, going back to voting countries from that year, San Marino is just another one. Every time they struggle so hard because they don't have as much support as some of the other bigger countries that have that allyship.
Yeah, and I don't know why they don't have some sort of thing with Italy. I mean, they're like in Italy. So I would be trying to buddy up with them, but maybe because they're Big 5, they think they're too good for San Marino. Who knows?
And there was some interesting voting with semifinal 2, and I don't know when you all want to get into that, but Italy's votes were very strong, and we'll get there eventually, but that was a surprise to me. For me, the other one too, and I think this is kind of a collective, even though not necessarily, it was never one of my favorites to begin with, but Czechia. For them, they were a country that, seeing what she had put out at her national performance, to what she provided with us at the semifinals, I'm like, okay, improvement. We saw a lot of improvement there, and she could have potentially made it to the grand final.
Let's get into that one, because that is honestly, that was one of my favorite songs out of semifinal 2 in that pool. I love that song. Like I mean this in a very positive way. Like, my younger self would have been absolutely obsessed with that song. So it like hit a note of almost nostalgia for me for some reason. I thought that her performance was done a slight disservice by not having the tits out costume that we saw in rehearsals.
Agree.
Putting on the sparkle bra. I was like, we're taking away actually from this. Loved the tits out moment.
Let her show the areolas. Let her show the areolas.
I understand there's broadcasting rules,
censorship and whatnot.
I thought that, that was better. Her vocals were amazing in the semifinal. I thought she did so well. She looked great. I thought it was really high energy, and and I think I caught a little bit in the rewatch that you can kind of hear people like singing along with it with her, and I think that that's something that's super cool about Eurovision is the songs have been out for so long that by the time we're getting to the actual performances, everyone knows all the words to all of these songs. Like, we know them, we love them, and so that makes it like just a fun concert of a bunch of your favorite artists with a bunch of your favorite songs.
And I really just enjoyed her performance overall. I thought her vocal was iconic, and I say that in a tongue-in-cheek way because her new album is called Iconic, because she's Aiko.
Oh, I love that.
I have to explain it. It's not funny.
Iconic.
But just truly, I think her vocals are just so unique. I've listened to her album, and I really like it. Some of her other music, Hunger, Nervous, they're all just very her. And I think that's what I love about it, because I can tell who you are as an artist by your song. And so for me, this absolutely should have made the finals. The only thing that took away from the performance for me was her revamp. I did not like the revamp. I didn't think we needed to pause the energy, and that's truly what I think happened.
Yeah, the new release of the song where you hear the argument or whatever, I was like, we're not only pausing the vibe, but we're like actively bringing it down, because it was like borderline, it was not a good conversation to be here. It was just a bad energy.
She also changed some of her lyrics. If you listen to the original track, she says, "Tired of explaining your shit. You're so full of it."
Bullshit,
and then, and then she changes it to "pathetic" and "I'm over it," and she's censoring herself. That part didn't make sense to me.
Probably, I think she probably had to, or whoever was in charge of whoever at Czechia was like, "You'll get broader reach if you don't have this language in your songs." But I totally agree. The original lyrics are far and away better.
And that's where some of my theory goes, as far as what you saw her do when she was competing at her national performance to what we saw at Eurovision. I think that there were people from her country or her production team that sat her down and showed her national performance, which was chaotic and rough. Yep, that's the best way to put it. It was rough. And they were probably like, okay, girl, let's find a way to clean this up and elevate you so we actually see ourselves as a contender. And I think they did do that, but I think at the same time, too, part of her got lost in it. And I think we talked about that a little bit. There's this segment that they incorporated that really changed the vibe toward the tail end and brought it down. And there was censorship. Again, let the woman show her areolas. Nobody cares.
Come on.
Family show, but also,
there's There's that too, but it's Europe.
You know, also when you look at the scores, she ended up with 38 points, and Norway in 10th place had 43. She was only off by 5 points. So, like, she was so close, and I thought she should have been in over Norway, frankly, to be honest.
Please,
absolutely.
We need to talk about it because...
Go there. Doug, go there, Doug. Go there.
Mention it all.
The absolute audacity of the world to put this... Sorry, I mean, culturally, I guess I get it.
Yeah,
to some extent.
It's giving Viking, which I don't hate.
But the fact that they were able to get the votes to go through is shocking. I was shooketh.
That was a mind-blown moment, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I am a sucker for a female-led, mostly male band. You know, I just love that dynamic. You think of your, like, paramours and stuff. Like, I just
shout out to Gwen Stefani.
Yeah, honestly. Like, I just love that energy, and it's like a little, like, Stevie Nicks of her, even though, yes, Christy McVie was in there. I'm not gonna discount her. But, you know, it's one of those I have such a hard time with it because to me it was not a Eurovision finalist, but I didn't hate it. I know, Doug, you kind of hate it. But
it
was my bathroom break.
It got what it deserved in the finals.
It was my bathroom break.
For those who don't know, that was last place in the finals. So, right?
Eurovision Rewind Grand Final 2024.
If Czechia had gotten in, they would not have been last place.
I very much agree with that.
Yep, 100%.
So this is where those two need to swap places, and I will be able to sleep at night. Like,
yeah.
There is another one for me that I see on this list that I don't think should have been there because of all the generic pop songs. This was not it, and it's Georgia. Yep. Firefighter. I don't know.
Yeah.
It made no sense.
My thoughts about Georgia, good for her. This was the first time Georgia made it to finals since 2016. So I liked it. But it was, again, the same way that I would have dropped Cyprus out of the finals in semifinal one. That's kind of how I feel about Georgia's Firefighter.
In this semi in particular, you had Firefighter, Pedestal, Sand, Titan, Loop. All of them are just straight up pop songs. And how did Georgia be the only one of that list that I just said to make it through?
I would put Austria in that list as well. I would put "We Will Rave" as a pop song.
Yeah,
in there.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, you're 100%
so they made it as well.
It's like a techno pop song, whereas the others are just like diva pop songs, maybe.
Yeah,
but
the American gays need to be more exposed to "We Will Rave" to actually understand it.
True,
because that would have been their summer anthem. In addition to Sabrina Carpenter, we tried
on "We Will Rave" Day.
We did, and she made great strides, just not in the U.S. But to the gays out there, give Kaleen the opportunity to get into that playlist. It's a great song. But circling back, no, you're absolutely right. Georgia getting in was a surprise for me. Kudos to her for breaking a streak of not qualifying. It just was not there for me. It really wasn't. It's if she was in semifinal one, she would have gotten lost in the sauce and would not have been on anybody's radar.
But how did she not get lost in this sauce?
That's the big question, honestly. But
because I really do think that, like, for me, between like spots 5 and 14, it's all kind of just soup.
Ooh.
Of the finals. Like, it's all just, I mean,
that is a long bathroom break.
Not to knock those songs. Like, I think they were great, but I don't, like, there weren't as many massive standouts that I didn't get as heartbroken for ones that didn't make it on this semifinal because I just don't think it was quite as strong. But I think, coming back to some of those pop songs, those generic pop songs, we got to talk about 12th place, Sand.
Sand!
From Denmark.
Sand! Okay, and now it's story time again. So, Sand is going to be one of those songs that I think will forever live in, like, me and Doug's lives, because yeah, it's going to remain in our lives for infamy. Yet I still use it pretty regularly when we have to. So 9 of us in total went on this trip, right? We decided early on that there's a lot of dynamics going on here. There's a lot of characters that we're trying to appease and entertain. I think it would be safe to say, yep. Where's the tea? Where's my wine? We decided that it would probably be appropriate if we incorporated a safe word amongst the group when maybe somebody was getting to a breaking point, or maybe we were diving into a topic of conversation that probably shouldn't be mentioned, or somebody's just kind of going through it at that time, and the last thing they want to do is engage with other people because they're getting on their last goddamn nerve. So we decided to use SABA's song "Sand" as that safe word. So anytime
you just can't say sand, though. You can't be like, oh, sand.
No. Well, and what was funny is that as the week progressed and the safe word was getting thrown out from time to time, somebody would be like, okay, sand, and then all of a sudden everybody would just kind of break out into melody, and you would just hear sand. And not only did it kind of help break the tension at that moment, it gave everybody a good chuckle, but it also was a great indicator that it's okay, let's dial it back, or let's back off, or let's not go there. I tried to explain that story to my dad when we got back, because we were starting to get into some awkward conversations at a family dinner, and I was like, we used this word called sand to sort of give it some cushion. Maybe we shouldn't go there. And my dad's like, or you could just say stop.
Okay,
that's not
okay, Dad.
Okay, Dad. It's not as entertaining. Yeah. But sand. So because of that, sand will always hold a special place in our hearts. But again, her performance was performance.
I said sorry to this girl for having to have sand in her pockets the whole time.
Speaking of holding sand, seriously,
dropping the sand for so long, and then breaks more out later, like fully pocket sand.
There has to be a better way.
I know your song is called Sand. To have every single set piece be sand, all of your graphics on the stage, you have this amazing stage with these amazing LEDs, you can do anything with it. It's all sand. You can't come up with anything else. At least done
like glitter or something.
Let's say you wanted to have the sand element. You could have done it in a different way. There has to be a better delivery method than I'm going to hold sand in my hand, or I'm going to pull it out of my pocket. There has to be a better delivery.
Did we or did not have Dune 2 just come out? And so there's all this but there's all this theming stuff that you could have done, not to make it about Dune, but we're riding a desert wave.
Whoever put this staging together, and I don't know if she had a hand in it, but it just felt that they were like, all right, you can't have a microphone because you have to hold this sand. So then she's holding the sand. She's got this microphone that's strapped to her head, and it's not. She had the little piece,
the pop star
attached to her
headset.
Yeah, and I don't think that did anything for her. I don't think it helped the quality of the vocal.
Okay, Doug, you have to remember this too. When we went to rehearsal night, her vocals were off from the beginning. And we were like, this is rough. It got better. And so we obviously assumed that for live semifinal night, she would have improved. She did it again. It was rough from the start, and she had to work very hard to pick herself back up. Now, circling back to what you said, there is totally a better way to incorporate the sand into your song. Victoria, Eurovision 2021, from Bulgaria with her song Growing Up is Getting Old. She did a phenomenal job incorporating the sand in her performance. And that wasn't even what her song was about.
Right. I just thought, it seemed a little lazy to be like, the song is called Sand. Let's make everything sand.
It felt a little too on the nose.
But
I also, I feel bad being so critical because one of the moments that I loved a lot out of this semifinal was just seeing her reaction once she was done and seeing like she got so emotional. She was so deeply thankful for even being there. And I love seeing those, thank you, Europe moments of after they perform. And you saw her get so emotional, and I was like, I wanted to just like hug her in that moment. I just, the performance wasn't it, and the audience agreed.
That's us being critical of the performance, not because we dislike her, not because we don't want to see
even the
good
song.
And it's not that we don't want to see good things for her. It's just that she just particular did not performance. Have a good night. And as Katie would say, you have to step your pussy up because this is your chance.
You gotta pop it.
Pop it and lock it, as Doug said as well. But no, absolutely true. She just, I feel bad for her. She choked, and it wasn't great.
I had the same kind of thought about her and Moldova from semifinal 1. Like, I think there would have been a benefit. It's a huge stage. And, we'll talk about it when we get to our discussion of the finals. But what I said about Switzerland, about Nemo's performance, was like, that's how you be on stage by yourself.
Yep.
The performance was dynamic. They like commanded that stage. They didn't move around and like take up all the space, but their presence was just like exuding. And I was like, if you're going to be solo, that's the way to do it. And that Absolutely. Is a very unique skill that I'm so excited to talk about when we get to that. But I think that it's really hard to be on that big of a stage by yourself. And, no shade to people who don't have that ability to do that. But, because that's tough. But I do think that was a disservice for her.
Yeah. I think it's we might as well just segue to it. And I think we should talk about the two most intense things that came out of semifinal 2. We saw, and I don't know if this is the first time that it has happened in Eurovision history, but we saw a country qualify to the grand final only to then 2 days later be disqualified. And seeing a country that through a lot of political distress that's going on right now, make a lot of controversy and find themselves going into the grand final when a lot of us were shocked about it. So first and foremost, the Netherlands with Joost Klein did in fact advance to the grand final when it was all said and done, coming in second with the second highest scores that evening, only to then 2 days later be disqualified because of some controversies that happened behind the stage, where there were some interactions between him and Eurovision crew members that went against a lot of the guidelines and policies that they had in place. And that was unfortunate because not somebody that was on my radar at the beginning, but then seeing him perform live, I think similar to how you all felt about Australia, his live performance scored very high for me and skyrocketed up. I turned to my husband, Roger, and just said, top 5 finisher, I guarantee it.
Right. And to this day, Europapa has the most streams out of Eurovision 2024. So it is, by the people's like listening habits, the most popular song to come out of it. And I think there's a particular challenge around his song was Europe, Let's Come Together, referenced all the different countries. It was, about I love Europe, I'll stay here till I die is the whole thing. And then like the love letter to his parents at the end. That is so, not just like the zaniness of the performance is so Eurovision, but the message of it, it's united by music. That's the tagline for Eurovision. That was this song.
It's everything you wanted in a Eurovision song.
Right.
100%.
And then also, having Israel being divisive, for better or for worse. I have some I think objective thoughts about the song. I thought the song was good. Her voice is amazing. I can't hold her personally responsible for everything that's happening in the Middle East. So that feels unfair to hold that against her. Mm-hmm. It also feels unfair to maybe potentially boost her because of it. I don't know.
Sand.
But so
sand. Yeah, no. Well, Doug, I'm sorry, Doug. This is the territory that comes with the podcast. I know. I have a lot of feelings.
I'm not gonna say let's get into an Israel-Palestine discussion here, but
absolutely not.
That those two things happening at the same time in the same Eurovision, it's just like it does leave a little bit of a sour taste. It's a sour taste because it's just, here's the song that is like so what Eurovision is about. Not
and it's taken
like
away from us.
As far as I'm concerned, he ended up being like did not qualify because we didn't see him in the finals. But so that's just like such a tough pill to swallow.
Semifinal two is one of those, and Nemo said it best. There were moments throughout Eurovision that were beautiful, and there were moments throughout Eurovision that were very rough to experience. And as an audience member, going into semifinal two, you could feel the tension the entire 100%. Evening from the moment you are going through security. Now, I will give credit where credit's due. They wanted to ensure that people were safe and felt safe in the arena. But with that came a lot of angst. There was a lot, you could feel the tension throughout the entire evening. People just kind of wanting to get through it and knowing that it was just going to happen. And I think a lot of people had a mentality of, let's just let her get through it. She's not going to qualify. And then she did.
Not only did she qualify, she came in first.
I feel as though that was sort of to be expected, honestly. And I know that I had conversations with my partner Ryan about it, saying for every person who is opposed to it, you have somebody who's in favor of it. And so I think you see people who wouldn't normally vote in a certain way who are going to throw their votes because of what's happening. I also think that what we saw on the live performance was not a true indicator of what you heard in the arena. It has come out. It's not a secret that they pumped in applause. They said that we don't want you to hear what is actually happening in the arena. And for Steven and I, when we were there was an equal amount of booing for an equal amount of praise and applause.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of hypocrisy that was also going on in there. And not you, Katie, but other Katie that was on the trip with us summed it up perfectly. You had people booing, but they were also singing along with her at the same time. You can't have it both ways. You just can't. I tried to stay as neutral as humanly possible. And the reason why, very similar to you, Katie, I was trying my hardest to separate the artist from the politics and put myself in a headspace where I am just looking at somebody who wants to be up there to sing and sing a ballad that she worked so hard on, had to go back and forth with to get approved lyrics for. And she just wanted to be up there just like everybody else. But at the same time, too, I'm human, and I had a very hard time of separating the two, and that's just human nature.
And that's also makes it, that human element makes the votes different,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I put in my notes, objectively, it's a beautiful song. She sang it wonderfully. Her dress was amazing. Her dancers were incredible, lyrical dancers, and
her flexibility is insane.
As a former dancer myself, like, I can so appreciate that. It's so hard to talk about it objectively, and in a voting type thing, that's not going to be objective. You can't like tell the 190 countries or whatever that are voting and rest of it in total. Be really objective here, like let's
when you have
think about this as the
164 million
song.
people watching, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
The emotions are going to be high. It's gonna affect things. I thought it made sense for her to go through to finals just based on the song. I don't think that we'll talk about it, but I don't think she should have ranked 5th in finals. I don't think this song was strong enough for that. But that's like me trying to be as objective as possible about just the song, just the artist, just the performance.
Yeah.
I do think that it made sense for me that she advanced just based on the song itself. If you knew nothing else.
Yeah, to me, what also bothered me as we got into the later half of that week is that there was just a lot of misinformation that was coming out about why Youst was getting disqualified, and a lot of people were trying to correlate his behavior from the post-show press conference to that of rehearsal, and wild allegations that were just completely false. There was no correlation between him and any altercation between the Israel or the Israeli delegations or Israeli staff members. It truly was some choices were made as far as what they considered a physical altercation between him and Eurovision crew members, and for some reason they just felt as though they had to lay down the law on him in what I think is extremely harsh compared to some of the other things that people were getting away with backstage.
Yeah, we don't have all those insights, and the post-show press conference was basically he kind of held Eden Golan from Israel to answer a question that she didn't want to answer or was trying to avoid answering.
Her staff was trying to stop her from answering it.
Yeah. So, and he said, "No, I think you should answer it," and then
she did.
So that footage came out. Then we found out about the disqualification, and then a lot of people put those as conflated the two. Completely not. So, so I am, as looking at who placed out of semifinals, I said that, I wasn't necessarily super heartbroken about anyone in particular. I would say maybe Czechia, but not seeing Youst in the final, regardless of, the fact that he made it through, that was heartbreaking because I love that song. I loved that performance. I loved the bird costume person on the keyboard. It's so Eurovision, like I said, both the song content and the performance. It was fun, amazing. I'm so sad that it wasn't there.
He won Roger over. Roger was not Team Youst until that live performance, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Roger was all about it.
Part of me is like, obviously I am on Team Netherlands, like I'm for it, but part of me is like, maybe we should have gotten Pedestal in the finals. Like, let's just bump 11th up into the finals.
That's what I was thinking, honestly. Like, because I was like, okay, so we have 11 alternates, basically. When you look at like people who didn't make it in, we were planning on having a 26-song show in the finals. We got the time.
Right.
It was a 26-song show.
I would have looked at who scored higher between 11th place in semifinal 1 and semifinal 2. There's your Australia.
Oh, there's
that
my
is
Australia.
That is Australia.
See, that's the thing. I would have been fine with that too. Like, let's do
it.
Would
have been fine either way.
Yeah, either way, I think we would have been okay. But yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we went from 26 finalists to 25. It was gut-wrenching, but I think that when it was all said and done, we still had a strong lineup.
Right.
We lost some good ones in the mix of it, but we still we were looking forward to a really good grand final.
I do want to make sure that we just give a quick nod to some of the other members of the did not qualify group.
Yes, I was going to say, let's jump back into it.
So I'm going to say, I'm going to talk about Belgium. We've talked about Belgium before. We've talked about the diva moment during the rehearsal. Alone on stage singing, you were having your moment. You had microphones. And honestly, I don't know what the symbolism was, but for me, that symbolism was like, I need the spotlight on me at all times. I need a microphone in every direction because you have to pay attention to me. That's all I got from it.
And the glitter bodysuit, whatever, supports that point as well.
I think he stole that bodysuit from Sarah.
Costume. I think he did.
Yeah, it was giving me Coldplay. Is that...
Was it?
I don't talk about Coldplay like that.
Oh.
I was trying to, watch it a little bit more objectively when I was doing my latest watch through of it. I was thinking, and I have a question for you guys. So, yes, he got a do-over for, the set pieces not working correctly. He sounded really nervous to me. I was wondering, did you notice a difference in his vocals between the first and then the do-over? Because maybe it threw him off a little bit and he was kind of scared in that second one. Because that is disruptive to your flow and your process and everything. So did you notice a difference?
Question.
I didn't notice much of a difference.
I didn't notice one, but also because this is some side tea too. I was more annoyed that they gave him a do-over during rehearsal night and they didn't give Spain a do-over. Now, granted, Spain was one of the big five, so they automatically advanced. But Nebulosa also had some audio issues where the feedback was incredibly off, and I was sitting there kind of like, what the fuck is going on? Mm-hmm. And they were not allowed a do-over, but he did. And so I was too pissed to really pay attention because
totally fair.
That is, I wish I could have given you a better answer, Katie. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Regardless, it wasn't a song that I was sad to see go.
No.
It was a song that I had. It was a song that I had on the bubble. I said I would be fine either way if it advanced or it didn't.
Right.
He's a beautiful man. Beautiful man. Beautiful gowns, as Aretha Franklin once said. Yeah. But he wasn't wearing a gown. He was wearing sparkles. Beautiful sparkles.
Dresses, beautiful gowns.
Beautiful coats.
Sparkles, beautiful microphones.
Yes, beautiful twirl, if you will.
The song didn't really do anything for me. So, I think we can wrap up that conversation.
And on that note, let's talk about who I think was one of the most beautiful of the night.
Go ahead.
As far as I loved her dress. Like that's my biggest praise of her, and I know that that's we're
talking skipping
about
San Marino.
What are you talking about, San Marino?
I didn't give all my thoughts on San Marino.
Okay,
we were over 11-11. Sorry.
Go ahead, Katie. And then we'll give Doug his moment.
I thought it kind of suffered from the same thing as UK's 21 Embers, which got 0 points. So they didn't get 0 points. But I thought that in a year where there was maybe more rock songs, it would have done better. It was just such a hard shift out of kind of what the pattern was being for everyone else that it was like kind of jarring. And I don't think, it didn't feel cohesive with the rest of the show. So I think it suffered from that.
Do we know what 11-11 means? other than like 1111, Make a Wish.
Let me see if it says anything.
For me, that was the most disconnect that I had. Like, I didn't necessarily understand the Spanish, but I don't have to. I get that part. But I didn't understand the title of the song. And so for me, like, you had lost me at the title, right?
Song's title itself relates to an angel number tied to spiritual awakening, self-awareness, and personal growth. And that is apparently what the song is.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I will give it that it was much better seeing it in person during our rehearsal show. I will admit that I skipped this nearly every time it came up on my Spotify. But when it played in the rehearsal, I could feel the energy. I felt the song. I now don't skip it. So I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Well, that's growth. And like
I said,
Doug.
It's just too different, I think, from the other songs to really feel like it fits on your playlist, you know?
San Marino is just always going to be one of those countries that I think is always going to struggle when it comes to advancing to the grand final. They've had, these last 3 years have been rough for them.
They've competed in Eurovision 14 times. They have advanced to the finals 3 times.
Yeah.
That's a rough stat.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, though, if you're San Marino, you've got to be asking yourself, why do we do this? Yeah. Is it just for the overall exposure and the fun of it? Or...
Well, I mean...
Yeah, I didn't really know about San Marino until I started getting into Eurovision, and now I'm like, I know what San Marino is.
Trip destination?
Kind of, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
If they could win, I'd go to San Marino. Let's do it.
There were talks for a long time. I say a long time. It's only been about 3 months since Eurovision 2024 ended. But shortly after 2024, there was rumors speculating that they were not going to participate in 2025. And now here we are 3 months later. They've confirmed that they will have a showcase. So that's a good indicator that they plan to return next year. I don't know, call Flo Rida up again and see if he wants to just make another cameo, and that will get that's your ticket in.
Not Flo Rida.
Not Flo Rida.
It's Flo Rida.
Flo Rida.
Hi, I'm from Denver. It's Flo Rida.
I hate you both so much right now.
Oh no, you don't. Not even
not at all. Not at all.
All right, and then let's round out our conversation about DNQ.
You have never been less excited to talk about an artist in that moment. And that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to. But Albania, she's beautiful. I love her voice. I loved her dress. This song was
beautiful gowns. Beautiful gowns.
It's giving Statue of Liberty with titties.
Do you know what I said?
What did you say?
I don't. I'm scared.
Giving American Idol winner first single.
Oh.
Well, Kelly Clarkson won American Idol, so joke's on you.
It's giving a moment like this. It's giving, it's like the song that they sing when they win, that is like written by a team of pop songwriters that they have no personal connection to.
Oh.
That's what it felt like to me.
That makes my heart sad because I liked this song, and I probably liked it more than I should have.
I liked it.
That was me with Iceland.
I liked it before she changed it and decided to go fully English route. Because
they were one of the first to announce. They were pretty early on as well, and so we got to hear the non-English version, and you kind of got used to it. And then all of a sudden, the Spotify playlist changes, and you're like, "What? What's happening? I feel like I know this song." Oh wait, I do. Mm-hmm. It's just non-English.
And she did her national performance in Albanian, so there was also that.
So this was like, not only did I revamp, but I straight up switched it to English.
She put the thing down, flipped it, and reversed it for real.
I do want to just quickly, the artist from Albania, I believe it's pronounced BESA? BESA?
BESA, I believe.
Yeah.
She released a song after Eurovision. The title of that song, I believe, is Aman. And I encourage you to listen to it. It is in Armenian, as I understand. It's
Armenian?
It's
You mean Albanian?
Albanian?
Sorry, it's Albanian. So BESA, the song is AMAN. I think it's beautiful. I loved it. I encourage you to listen to it. Sometimes those post-Eurovision songs are better than the actual Eurovision song, and I think this is an example of that. So please take a moment and listen when you have a chance.
Will do.
So,
all right.
I will say we have 6 artists who didn't make it, and again, I feel bad for every single one of them because you know how hard they worked. But now we've sort of set the stage. We have all of our qualified artists. You have all of your Big Five and your Swedish winner or Swedish entry. So we are set. We are going to be able to talk about finals.
That'll do it for this episode. Thanks for listening. If you would like to support the show, please subscribe and rate us and give us a share. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Eurovision Kiki, and you can get in touch with us at eurovisionkiki@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you at the next Kiki.